Hello and welcome to glennzb TV for Tuesday, the show that puts glennzb into your virtual headset. I'm bringing New Zealand to the world, and the world to New Zealand. Don't be alarmed by the unusual surroundings. Leighton Smith's broken our entire radio station, so I've had to come in here to one of the less broken bits. He does that sometimes. The Leighton effect, we call it. Anyway, let me talk about... obviously, we've all just voted here in New Zealand. Meanwhile, in northern Iraq, the Kurds have voted to be a little bit less Iraqi. And I wouldn't vote in that election, and here's why. Because to prove you voted, you have to stick your finger and make your thing... I can't be having that. I can't be coming away from the voting booth with dirty fingers. I know it seems like a small thing, but really, it isn't. In America, we've had another shooting. I mean, this happened yesterday, of course, in Antioch, in Tennessee. You know, the people who live in Tennessee refer to themselves as Tennesseans, apparently. Anyway. This headline caught my eye, though. Tennessee church usher called a hero after confronting gunman with his own weapon. That's actually why I stopped going to church in the end. It wasn't really a theological thing. I just felt a little intimidated by the heavily armed ushers. Some sports are traditionally played indoors, some outdoors. And I don't think we should be too precious about it. A lack of indoor spaces for sex workers, for example, is apparently one of many factors causing conflict between sex workers and other residents in Christchurch. Homeowners north of Believ keep finding used condoms, needles and feces on their front lawns. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we all know having sex outside is fun. So, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Concerns me about the feces. I feel like the sex has gone wrong if there's feces. There's too much feces involved, but maybe things have changed since I used to have sex. Banks. It's always hard to take what they say entirely just at face value. Australian banks have axed their ATM fees from customers from other banks using, how you're supposed to go to the machine that's your bank's machine because otherwise it's a bit more expensive to use it. And so obviously we went rushing to the New Zealand banks to see if they were about to do the same thing. And apparently they said, they've taken note of this. A spokesperson for ASB says, yes, they're aware of the decision. And services are regularly reviewed in response to customer preferences. I would say that the customer preference is, in fact, to pay less fees. Make no mistake about it, big banks. But apparently the ANZ says the banking industry here is competitive and the arrangements between banks are different and more complex here than they are in Australia. So that ain't changing anytime soon. I'm a bit worried about Anthony Weiner because he's going to prison for sexting with a minor. He's going to spend 21 months in federal prison. You have to worry that somebody called Weiner in prison, it's not going to go well for him. I really don't think it's going to go well. If I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. And again, I ask why he's mispronouncing his own name. Because if you go back to the Germanic roots, an EI combination you should favour the second vowel, and it should actually be pronounced Weiner. If he just called himself Anthony Weiner and not Weiner, I'm sure this whole thing could have been avoided. And finally, back to Australia, they're off to space, apparently. They've announced it will officially have a space agency, which is part of an initiative to get a slice of booming private aeronautical industry. apparently it's not about putting people on Mars. I feel like it's probably just making sure that they can put any aliens in some kind of refugee camp. Probably on Nauru or somewhere like that. Because if there's one thing Australians hate, it's aliens. I am glennzb. That was a lot of topics in 5.5 minutes. I'm quite proud of myself. Maybe it's the new studio. Thanks for having me in your virtual headset. I'll see you back here again tomorrow. I was going to say more, but probably for less, to be honest.